Hey everybody, Ken here. Thanks so much for swinging by, and let me just open up by saying forgive me for being in a tank top, maybe not something a little bit more presentable, but I am warring through a little outbreak of some rashes because I got into some poison ivy and I learned a lesson about what mature poison ivy with the vine looks like. So save your comments for yourself. Let's get into this, man. So I want to share two really important tips with you that can change the game for you and how you manage your schedule. Okay, so really, if you're anything like me, I'm my own worst enemy sometimes and just kind of trying to do too much, right? And not knowing how to say no to things. And so these principles will help you say no to things. And the first thing that I want to ask you to do is determine for yourself what your non-negotiables are. So non-negotiables is a term that I use to refer to the things that I'm going to put on my calendar that will never be in a position to negotiate with something else as to whether or not it is more important than that. Okay, so let me just give this to you in a very practical sense about what some things might look like that you would consider non-negotiables to put on your calendar first, right? Blank slate calendar, what goes on there first? For me, my quiet time with the Lord. So if you don't know anything about that, what quiet time basically just means is first thing in the morning to start every single day, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to pray, I'm going to get into my Bible, and I'm going to receive from the Lord something that is going to build me up, train me up, equip me with what I need for the things that might be coming that very day, or at least is coming about at some point in my life. What can I receive from the Lord that will help me live out my created purpose, to be created in His image, to uniquely be shaped by Jesus Christ and represent God to this world? That's what I was created for. It's first and foremost, regardless of what or where or how or anything like that, this is the most important thing. So that goes on my calendar. And then another example might be is that when I was in a season as a parent where my two daughters were in high school and they had games, I wanted to be that dad. This was a non-negotiable for me, to be in the stands. I don't care if they were in the starting lineup or riding the bench. When it was game day and they looked up in the stands, they were going to see their dad and their mom, thankfully enough. So that went on my calendar. Once the season's schedule was released, that went on. So what this affords me the opportunity to do, not so much with the quiet time, because I'm going to get to kind of an example of where that plays in, but something like being at my daughter's game. See, when I put all those on my calendar across the season, then what I am in a position to do professionally, being that my very role in life is to go to coaches and athletes where they are and minister to them in the context of their practices and games, it would put me in a position to change how I communicate. I wouldn't say to a coach as much during this little stretch of time, hey, do you have any time this week? Or what's a good day this week? And put them in a position to put me in a position to have to say no, right? Very awkward. So by me being in control of my schedule first like this, it would put me in a position to then ask a coach, hey, what does Wednesday look like for you? Can I swing by practice? Or if I just look at Max Preps and I see they have a game, hey, you up for a word before the game on Wednesday night, right? So I'm asking more targeted questions that allow me to do what I'm called to do while also being where I want to be as a non-negotiable. So think through that a little bit. What are the non-negotiables that you need to put on your calendar now first, that you will never allow anything else to come onto your calendar that will negotiate with that thing as to whether or not it is more important than that? Okay, so that's principle number one. The second principle I want to share with you that has made a massive difference in me, or for me, is considering the preparation time that you need to put into something to be good at that thing that is on your calendar. So this may or may not be a non-negotiable. This just might be, in my world, to give this to you in a practical sense. I had a speaking engagement today. On Sunday afternoon, I was preaching at a high school baccalaureate graduation ceremony. Okay, so whenever I'm going to ask to speak, and most of the time, 99% of the time, my speaking engagements are very faith-based. They're coming as a way for me to unpack scripture for somebody in a way that would help, rescue them from something, free them from something, equip them for something, empower them for something, right? There's just some purpose behind what I'm messaging. And so to be a faithful shepherd of the Word of God, there's preparation time in that, right? It's just a standard structure of communicating, and with an opening and a story and then the main point and all that sort of thing. There's like working on the art of that. But then there's also just the truth of what I'm presenting. How well do I know it? How much do I own it? How well can I present it? So there's preparation time in that. You need to look at the things that you're doing and putting on your calendar and ask yourself, how much white space do I need to prepare for that so that I can do that thing well. I think so much of the stress that we put on ourselves in life is rooted in the idea of performance. And this is a whole nother message, but you're going into something and you don't feel that good about it, or you don't feel like you did that good with it. And there's this tension there, there's this weight there. And if you look at your calendar, the possibility is that you've put so many things on your calendar so close together that you're showing up to those things not really that well prepared. Your team is struggling because you're not inspiring them maybe as a leader. Your product is suffering. Your organization isn't advancing as well as you want it to because you're just so busy down in the weeds with too much. And so one of the things I've had to learn the hard way across my life is learning how to say no to other opportunities that are things I could be good at, am good at. They sound great. They're really neat opportunities. They're shiny objects. They're like, wow, they want me. And I have to really force myself to stay true to my calling. What is the thing, almost like the non-negotiable in my life that I'm in this for? What's my purpose in this life? So that, again, with that, it helps me say no to the things it's just not smart for me to take on. Okay, let me give you another practical way in which this might work out, like right in the execution of a day. So in one season of my life, I was a competitive athlete in the sport of CrossFit. Now, the volume of training and nutrition and just body care and just the whole body of work that it went into being my absolute best when I would compete, it was daunting. In trying to fit that in, I don't like to use the word balance and all that kind of stuff, but fitting that into my schedule so that I could do everything that I'm responsible for, paid for professionally, that I could do everything that I'm responsible for and purpose to do as a father and a husband, and then threading all that in, it required me to have a very honest conversation with my wife about the time it would take and when I would have to maybe be in the garage training and some of those things that would just force me to do. When do we have to stop? How often do we have to stop so I can eat, so I can get in that near 4,000 calories in a day, right? I mean, this is where what you're trying to do in life, if it is a lot, which for many of us it is, being really thoughtful about how do I fit all this stuff in? Can I honestly do it and give my best effort at it? And fortunately for me, I was able to, but one of the unique ways in which that I worked this out in my day is non-negotiables back then. Some of them were my training sessions. Now, I could move those around within my day a little bit, but for the most part, to get the roughly 3 to 4 hours a day of training in, I'd have to hit one early and then one kind of in the afternoon somewhere after I'd get back from being with a team. So, so I'm with teams 3:30 to 4:30 most days if I'm just going to hit them up at practice, come home, work out, eat dinner, start to wind down and get ready to do the whole thing all over again the next day. But one of the things that I remember doing during this season was when I would get done working out, I'd take a post-workout shake, I would clean up, and then I would be in my office, or I might be drinking the shake while I'm in my office. Great opportunity I have to work from home. My gym is in the garage at home, so there's a lot of reduction in travel times, some of those things that maybe some of you got to deal with and think through about, packing stuff to go to the gym so you can change and go back to work or whatever that looks like. Okay, so for me, what I remember is I would, sit here in the office, I would drink my shake. Once I'm done, I'd go clean up. And then I knew within about 30 minutes or so of that, it was going to be time to eat. One, because it's just, I have to eat on a cycle throughout the day or I'm not going to get the nutrition that I need to recover well from training and fuel myself for future training. But also I just needed to keep the calories in so I wasn't withering away because of the volume of training I was going through, right? So I knew that was coming. So in calendar management and how much prep time do I need and what is that white space filled with technically that might not be on my calendar, but I know about it. Eating a meal is one of those things. And so somebody might reach out to me and say, hey, Ken, can you meet me today at noon so we can talk about such and such? If I looked at my schedule of maybe they were asking me kind of last minute and I was just finishing up training. If I did the math properly for what the wind down evolution looked like from training and the nutrition schedule, it would allow me to look back at this person and not have to tell them why, but just say, oh man, I can't do 12, but is 1 o'clock okay? They'd be like, yeah, 1 o'clock's great. See you then. So we're both in a good place, right? I don't owe that person necessarily the details of what I'm doing that he or she might not really agree with anyway and think I'm blowing them off for a meal. But that was just where my life was at. It was a non-negotiable for me. I had to get those things done to be my very best at that thing. Okay, so same thing goes with message prep, speaking prep. Same thing, like I got a meeting tomorrow afternoon that I know I'm going to block out most of my day to really look through that schedule. When am I speaking? What am I speaking on? Am I ready to go? Do I have the facts in place? Am I ready to present with excellence? That's a value in my ministry. So you have to be responsible to keep that white space open to prepare properly for what you have. And for me, I've become a master of using the focus mode on my iPhone. I hit that thing, all the notifications are off except for 4 people on the planet that are my wife and my dad and my daughters, my mom, that can reach out to me in cases of emergency. I'm sorry, so 6 people, mother-in-law, sister-in-law around there too. So immediate family that can reach out to me in case of emergency. They can get through the block. But for everybody else, my phone will be silenced so I can give my full self to the preparation it takes to be ready to be great at that thing that's on my calendar. I'm going to give you one more example of what this plays out to look like for me with having non-negotiables and then just calendared events for my workday, which every one of us can relate with that. All right, so let me give you a way in which this plays out like practically on my calendar. So recently I had this training event to go to that was 4.5 hours away from here. So I was going to have to travel, stay in the Marriott, and take my non-negotiables with me, right? So the first calendared event I had of each day was at 8 a.m. And I knew that with non-negotiable of working out, getting my fitness in as well, 8 a.m. to about 8 p.m., 12-hour days seated in and out of classes and training and meetings and things. No way I'm working out anywhere in that window. And I certainly don't think realistically I'm going to get back and work out late at night and expect to wind down and get a good night's sleep for the next day, right? So I knew that I had to get my non-negotiables of quiet time and fitness in early. And there's a group of people that work with me that do the same thing. And it's fun that way to have some accountability buddies there to go through that together and create this expectation for each other about being in the gym early and all that sort of stuff. So when you consider the preparation time it takes to be great at something, I want to be present and readily available to be engaging with people all day long. So if the first event is at 8 a.m. and I need to be seated, ready to go, it's a 10-minute drive there. I probably need to be pulling out of the parking lot about 7:45 and getting there at 7:55, walk in the door, sit down, open my stuff up, and be ready to go for the first presenter. That's how I was rolling. So if 7:45 is my departure time, I need to be done with breakfast at 7:35 so I can get up and brush my teeth, grab my bag, and head to the parking lot. I need to be eating breakfast probably at 7 a.m. 35 minutes I gave myself to be able to eat breakfast and get out the door. Luckily, the bistro's right there in the Marriott. That's where I ate, didn't have to travel anywhere. That's why I like staying there. So we're at 7 a.m. So now if I back that up, well, I need to clean up from working out. So I'm going to realistically want to be getting in the shower to clean up and take care of this whole, bunch of hair that I never used to have when I was in the Marine Corps. So I'm probably realistically 6:35, 6:40, give myself about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get cleaned up and walk down to breakfast. So that means I need to be back in my room, taking my post-workout shake, finished up with breakfast, probably somewhere in the ballpark of 6:30 at the latest. So that means in order to be in the gym, I want to be walking in about 5:30. Give myself a good hour to warm up, work out well, cool down, get my shake. So we're at 5:30 a.m. Now I need to think about my quiet time, which I always block out a 30-minute window at a minimum to get it done. Now, if I'm here at home and the schedule's a little bit more lax, that could turn into an hour easy. But I want to give about 30 minutes of my time to the Lord to receive from Him what He has for me in this season of my life, in this moment of the day, whatever it might look like. So now I know that I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to start taking my pre-workout shake and sit down there and be with the Lord. And at 5:30, I walk out the door. I'm in the hotel gym. I'm done at 6:30. I clean up. I'm in the bistro eating breakfast. I'm done at 7:35 or so. Back up, brush my teeth, grab my bag. I'm out the door at 7:45, 7:50. Drive to the venue, sit down, 8 a.m., ready to go. That's what it looks like to manage my schedule and not just simply putting 8 a.m. start time and just blindly walking into the day thinking, that'll be enough time. We're so stressed out oftentimes because we're just our own worst enemy. That's been my experience. So cleaning up your schedule by putting the non-negotiables on first and then doing the math about what it looks like to get these non-negotiables done so that you can also then, if you have to, be well prepared for the first thing you got to do that day. It's a game changer. It'll put you in a position to say no to the things that are filling up white space where it shouldn't or getting in the way of things that are non-negotiables. And let me give you a bonus tip on this. 5 a.m. wake-up call for me during this training week. That was 3 hours to get up and go through the whole routine comfortably and get the non-negotiables done. I also then back that up one more time to ask myself, what time do I want to be in bed so that I can be my best rested, ready to go for the following day. I always like 7 to 8 hours of sleep for me based on just the volume of work and physical exertion I put into days. 7, 8 hours is pretty typical for me. And some of you are like, Ken, you're crazy. I get 5 to 6 if I'm lucky. And I know that. I've been in those seasons too. But whatever you can do based on when the last event of the previous day ends, you got to look at that math and factor in some rest time. Otherwise, you are going to burn yourself out. You're going to be burning the candle at both ends. You're going to be running on fumes. You cannot give away what you don't have. So rest is one of the most often neglected things there is. I will leave events early. I will cut things off short in the evenings if I know it's starting to get way too close to my rest time. You're going to get the best out of me if you just get out of my way and let me manage my schedule this way. It doesn't look the same as most people, but man, I'm in the healthiest place I've ever been in my life with how to get everything done that I have going on, because I give myself the time, the preparation time to be great at it by thinking about when I'm going to go to bed, based on when I got to wake up and get through my non-negotiables to start my day. I hope that helps all of you. I'm really interested to see what maybe you're going on, where if you're struggling with this and your situation is so very different than mine, you're not sure where to start, talk to me, man. Hit me up in the comments. I would be so grateful for the chance to help you get your schedule in order so you can be great at what God's called you to do. We'll see y'all again soon.